This is the Four-Man Rush. Hello, Panther fans, and welcome to another podcast of the Four-Man Rush. I'm your host, Timmy V.O., here with Kevin, Will, and Jadarius. And we'll talk a little bit about the Panther news that's came up lately. Signed ourselves a new player from the New Orleans Saints. And we'll talk about Mr. Apple, I believe his name is. A lot of fans are excited about that pick, which is understandable. It's always nice to have a cornerback that's been around the block a little bit. So we'll talk about that. Hold on, let me find that real quick. And we'll talk about Coach Rhule and his statements, and of course, we'll talk about we're gonna talk about Drew Brees, man. We're gonna touch on that because it's a volatile situation going on right now across this country, and I think a lack of understanding has driven a wedge in places that does not need to exist. So we're gonna touch on that and give you our thoughts on Drew and how we feel about that, and of course what everybody's talking about. These are scary times for people. Of course, related on where you live and things of that nature. These are uncertain times, which equates to somewhat scary times. And COVID and this, that, and the third, and it's interesting. But hey, we're glad you're here with the Four-Man Rush podcast because we're going to give it to you straight, and we give a damn, and we're going to express that. So hold on to your hats, folks, and welcome to another Four-Man Rush podcast. So we'll start with Jadarius, then we head over to Will, and then Kevin will bring you up on the home run hitter. So, Jadarius, we'll start off with talk about Mr. Apple from former Saints defensive back. What do you know about Mr. Apple, and how do you feel about this signing, bud?
Originally, I was expecting to sign a more veteran cornerback, a guy like maybe Darqueze Dennard or another guy, but I can see why. Part of the reason why I can see why is the age there. He's only 24. He's been in the league 4 years. I was a fan of his Ohio State tape. He was taken too high in the draft, in my opinion. He went 10th pick to the Giants. Didn't necessarily live up to that. They drafted him to be their guy, their lockdown guy, but even though he did display some traits there, like he displayed some great recovery speed on the boundary, but he didn't necessarily live up to the hype. But yeah, he fits what Rhule and Snow love in corners, which is they want their length, they want their speed, to be able to contain guys in man coverage on the outside. So from that perspective, I can definitely understand why. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to seeing if he can perform. If he performs, then maybe a second contract's on the way. It's only a 1-year contract. So this signing is after Will has kind of talked me off a ledge there. It's a low risk, high reward type move.
Right on. Oh, Will, what you know about Mr. Apple? How you feel about this signing, bud?
Yeah, I'm actually very familiar with him. Before all of this stuff worldwide has been going on, I was planning on doing an Eli Apple breakdown. I had probably 40 coverage reps saved on my iPad, but then things got real, so I got kind of distracted off of it and couldn't finish it right away. But I got something coming for y'all soon. But just what I saw, it's more of a confidence issue. I'm not going to lie to y'all and say that he's played well over the last 4 years. I mean, he's probably a draft bust at this point. It's safe to say that the Giants selected him 10 overall, and he hasn't lived up to it. He was inconsistent in both his time in New York and New Orleans. His coverage stats and ball production isn't impressive at all. And, he just has a lot of lowlights that you can look up for yourself. But I think it's not about that when Matt Rhule evaluates talent. He trusts his coach's ability to develop players with elite traits. And as far as traits, you can't deny that about Eli Apple. He's got 4.4 track speed. He's got good height, length, and that's what Matt Rhule stresses: height, weight, speed, that HWS. So I think that's the one bit of optimism I have about this signing is the coaching staff believes that they can develop guys with elite traits that Eli Apple possesses. And when you watch him on film, it comes down to confidence. Like he'll play in off coverage. He'll start in his back pedal. He'll turn and run, flip his hips while he still has a little bit of a large cushion to give. So that just shows me on those reps, he's afraid of getting beat deep. That comes down to confidence. He gets called for a lot of penalties and the pass interference and holding and illegal contact plays that I saw. I mean, he was in perfect position and didn't even need to do it. So again, that comes down to confidence. It's mental. So can this coaching staff get in his head and give this guy that mental confidence he needs to be able to play consistently at a high level? And that's what we need to see. But I think, I'm not going to convince anybody that he's a great player based on the way he's performed thus far in the league. But on the flip side, he does have elite traits. I mean, he's still very young, man. I mean, the guy was 20 years old when he entered the league. So you got a 20-year-old kid guarding grown-ass men. What do you expect him to come in and dominate? He's still younger than Will Greer, who's a second-year player. He's only 4 months older than Dante Jackson, who's a third-year player. So he just came into the league very young, inexperienced. He lacks confidence. So I still think there's some hope, and we'll see what happens. I just think the height, weight, speed, and the youth, he's not done yet. He's got a lot of good football left in him. We just have to hope that Matt Rhule, defensive backs coach Jason Simmons, Evan Cooper, and this defensive staff, Phil Snow, can get the best out of him. So we'll see. So that's one thing we had to be excited about this signing.
Right on, man. Right on. And Mr. Kevin Avery, what you think, bud?
Yeah, well, for me, I wasn't too, how can I put it? I wasn't too down that we got Eli Apple. I feel like, out of the cornerbacks that was left, either him or Dunnard will probably be a good fit for us. But based on the health, background of Dunnard, I think that was something that probably took him off of our target list because, the best ability is availability. And from what I saw, he hadn't played a full 16 games since like 2015, if I'm not mistaken. So, when you rebuild and you want to establish things, you want to make sure you got someone that's there. So enters Eli Apple. Watching him at Ohio State, I really thought he was going to be, continue the line of great, cornerbacks that come in and take over and dominate the NFL. You've seen, other Ohio State alumni do it, such as, his teammate, Marcus Lattimore of the Saints, Von Bell, who plays safety, he's from Ohio State. So we've seen those guys, come into the league and do good. For one reason or the other, as Will stated, he just struggled. And even though he went from a low-win team with the Giants to a playoff contender like the Saints, for whatever reason, it still seemed like he could never really to get it to just come fully together. And, when I think of Eli Apple, as was already stated, I think of a lot of the bad plays, to be honest. I'm just going to be honest with you as a Panthers fan. When I saw him, I was like, "Ooh, please let him cover DJ Moore. Oh, please let him cover Curtis Samuel." Like he was that guy that I hope, I hope that we targeted. But when I looked into it, did a little bit of digging here, he was suffering with an ankle injury throughout 2019. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses, but when you're playing cornerback, if you got bad ankles, that's probably one of the reasons that led into what Will was stating about having confidence issues. Because if your ankle's bothering you and you playing off coverage or you doing all this extra stuff, you fear you're not confident in your body to be able to do what you needed to do. But just for the fact that Matt Rhule looked at his traits and he spoke on it today as the being elite, I'm just gonna roll. I'm just gonna trust with what they've been saying, because a lot of us Panther fans have been kind of still, even though we drafted 2 cornerbacks, still kind of moaning and grumbling. Oh, that's we got the ones that don't think Troy Pride is going to do well, JD, and we also got a couple other that think Dante Jackson's not ready to step up either. So it was still some concern at cornerback. So a guy that's already been through a lot of adversity, I think a fresh start, with a 1-year deal, like a prove-it deal, could be, what he needs. And I'm just, if anyone has the opportunity to revive his career and to make it into something, I think, with what we're hearing, how Matt Rhule does things, I think this is the right situation for Eli Apple to take advantage of. There's definitely an open spot. I don't see any cornerback spot being, quote, marked down. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Dante Jackson, but let the best man win. Prove it. Nothing should be given to you at all. So I just look at him come in and compete and to embrace the nuances of how Matt Rhule and Phil Snow, particularly his defensive coordinator, is going to be, using him, coaching him up, the secondary coaches that we got. I'm just curious to see how the training and the coaching helps him. And like I said, this could be the ultimate low risk, high reward that could pay off. So for those of us that's, thinking ill now, could be fans later. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity for him.
Right on, man. Right on. I haven't been an Eli Apple fan myself personally. I haven't really followed the gentleman like that, but judging on his body of work in terms of his athletic prowess, I mean, he can be a nice addition. Like you said, if we can just get him to play some smart football, we might be all right. Now that front line is going to help his coverage ability. That's for sure. But it is what it is. It is what it is. So next topic, Coach Rhule. I had some comments today, or recently, about the world around us. Jadarius, you wanna hop on that and give us your thoughts on that, please?
Yeah, Coach Rhule is extremely eloquent, man. He's able to present information in a way that gets people to understand how he believes, and then also to pull them on the wagon with them. But his comments was really speaking out against racism in every form, and he's like a lot of leaders today are coming out and saying it may not be blatant racism, but if it's systematic, then we have to kill it as well. So I think he did an excellent job of filling out the temperature of the room and understanding where we are as a country and as a society, and then presenting information and an ideology that will help us push the narrative forward and not backwards.
Right on. And we definitely need to move forward, folks. That's for damn sure. Will.
I thought he hit a home run. I think, he addressed issues that a lot of coaches around the league won't address. He admitted that, as a white man and with his family, they don't experience, I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but they don't really experience this every day. So it's easy for them to just ignore it, dismiss it, and say, distance themselves from it, because it just makes them uncomfortable to kind of attack these topics head on. But he just, he hit it on the head by just saying it's just time for us to sit down, listen, understand where these guys are coming from, and be a part of the solution. And it's just good to hear that from a head coach of your organization. And I just think with the Tepper era, this is the one thing that stands out to me so far. He took a chance on Eric Reed when no other teams would.
Yeah.
And I think he would also green light a Colin Kaepernick signing if it came to that. I just think with Kyle Allen playing so well last year, he started 6-1. as a starting quarterback, you can't really bench a guy, with that kind of hot start.
Right.
And they just drafted a kid, Will Greer, in the 3rd round. So you kind of got to see what you have in him. There just never was really a chance to bring in a guy like Kaepernick and, get in the way of the development of the young guys you had on your roster. But it's between what Matt Rhule's saying, David Tepper's actions, what he does in the community as well. It's just really good to see the Panthers as a cutting edge, leading forward-thinking organization. And I think that's one of the things that makes you proud to be a fan of this football team.
Well said. Well said. It's nice to have leadership like that in the locker room. Kev.
Yeah, what I liked about, what Rhule done was that he was able to take a step back and assess the temperature of the situations and do the right thing. That's one of the things that, I like about him is that he's very calculated when he speaks. When he spoke to the team on Friday, they actually had a session where some sort of comedian was supposed to come in and, just kind of, during the virtual training and things and just to, kind of give a lighthearted mood. But, Matt Rhule felt like that now is not the time to be, quote, having jokes and laughing with everything that's going on. So he decided to counsel that. I just like the fact that he just seems to not mind, learning. It's okay to say I don't have all the answers, but what I can do is position myself where that me and my wife can look at our kids and go down the road and tell them that we chose to stand on the right side of history. These are his words. So he's already thinking that the moves that he makes during this time now will have an effect, whether positive or negative, down the road. And he's looking to make sure that it's on the positive side. So, he's been very supportive of all the Panther players who've been involved with the marching, with the peaceful protests. He's given them his full support. I just like the fact that he just seems to really, even though he hasn't physically met with the team, I just like the fact that he just is able to use the platform and during these unprecedented times, especially for the NFL, to, make the right decisions and say the right things. So by me, Coach Rhule is he's showing the skills that beyond the football field, beyond the S's and O's that I like. And, even though he's a college coach, I'm starting to see that he shows some characteristics of being a coach that could potentially show that he's going to be a leader of men, just based off of character, based off of morals, and just based on, pretty much having common sense, knowing when to say something, knowing when not to say something. So I like that about him.
Right on. Right on. Yeah, Coach Rhule. I'm getting more and more comfortable with this pick. Good job, Tepper. Good job. Good job. Okay. Go ahead and stretch out for this one. So,
controversy time.
Wow. It's not even controversial, man. This is just truth right here, fam. This is truth for you Panther folks right here. We're going to talk about this because we're all living in the same country, right? And we all seen the same things. You cannot misconstrue what happened in Minneapolis. I mean, that's pretty obvious. So Drew Brees has some words to say. Okay, does anybody have the quote on hand? I have it.
Give me 1 second. I can pull it real fast.
Hey, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. So Drew Brees has some things to say about the protesting and the rioting and obviously the looting and things of that nature that's going on. It was an interesting point of view. Now there's some people out there in America who feel this way. But it depends on what side of the tracks you come from, and if you're old school, kind of like Kevin and myself, when I say what side of the tracks, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So if you're not clued in on redlining and what that means, you can grab a history book and Google it. Okay. Anyway, So yeah, Brees seems to feel that he's kind of pissed off about that. He's kind of pissed off about that. Not necessarily about the. Well, I guess he said that he was upset about obviously the police brutality situation, but he was kind of pissed off that people were protesting like they were. So Jader, you got that, Jay?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, what Brees say, man?
So essentially what was going on was he was having a Skype interview with the interviewer. Mm-hmm. And the interviewer asked them with the political climate that's going on today in the NFL season up in the wings, would you be surprised to see black athletes or athletes in general take a knee during the anthem again? Mm-hmm. And what would you say as a leader of that movement? And he said, as a leader of the NFL, what's your role in that? And he said, after seeing all the other players protest, he said, I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag in reference to players taking a knee during NFL games for the national anthem playing.
Well then. Will, now you've actually been marching down there in Miami, right?
Yep, for the last 3-4 days we've been out doing our thing.
Where? Staying safe, I hope.
Oh, definitely. Peaceful.
Exactly.
We're not them guys. We're not the ones. Don't listen to what you see on the news, man. We're not the ones breaking windows.
Sure ain't. That's not what I've been saying. But anyway, I'm gonna get into that. I'll let you guys get through this.
We actually stopped guys from doing that. We linked arms, stood behind the CVS, and prevented people from taking that route.
Outstanding. And folks, if you haven't done your research on this, there are a lot of video instances where there's folks coming from outside of the town, outside of the city, outside of the neighborhoods, and just coming there and just messing stuff up and encouraging people to do the same. And yet we see people like Will and these protesters, not the rioters, the protesters from those neighborhoods saying, get the fuck out of here, because we're not trying to roll that route. This is about change, not about, smashing necessarily property and things of that nature. But yeah, Will, go ahead, man. What you think about Brees' comments, bro?
To me, it's just ignorance. Keeping your head in the sand. And I think it was very disrespectful to his teammates who were, struggling with these issues. Their friends, their family have to deal with this every day. Mm-hmm. And just to be so dismissive, selfish, and ignorant to what's going on in the world, I just think it's a terrible look for him, especially in this climate. That's not a knock on his beliefs. I think it's a knock on just his statements in the environment that we're in right now. I think it's, at this stage, Colin Kaepernick explained himself. The flag stands, when you pledge allegiance to the flag, you put your hand over your heart for liberty and justice for all. Justice for all. The key word in that is all. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, they're not getting justice. And they're not the first time that's happened. These are the only instances that have been captured on cell phone camera footage. We see this thing in our neighborhoods every weekly, daily, year after year after year. And it didn't really blow up like this until we could capture it with camera footage. So for him to completely dismiss it and be ignorant of everything that's going on right now, I think was very disappointing. Now, I think we have to remember who the messenger is. He gets paid to throw a football and read defenses. And by having that talent, it's allowed him to, accumulate millions of dollars. And now he has a platform. And that platform allows him to speak on topics that he's ignorant to. So he really has no business having a voice in this movement at all. Just the fact that he makes the money he does and got to the position he got into, he's going to be asked difficult questions like this. But, at the end of the day, his opinion is irrelevant. He's an athlete, and he has no obligation to be a part of this movement, and we don't need him to be a part of it. But right. To just totally dismiss it like the way he did and, disrespect Kaepernick's stance and make it about the flag, which it never was. I think the whole narrative about disrespecting the flag and the military was an attempt to create a distraction from what the true issues were that Kaepernick was trying to tell them, which was we're trying to fight injustices in black communities with police brutality. So nobody wanted to hear that. They wanted to dismiss the issues and make it about the flag and the military to create a distraction. And Drew Brees wants to be a part of the distraction instead of the issue. And that's the way I perceived it. Now, because he's an athlete and his opinion on this topic is irrelevant, he's not going to be a part of the solution. It really doesn't matter to me. I just think the people he has to explain it to is his teammates. So when these facilities reopen, let's see what he does when he has to look Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, his offensive linemen, all these guys in the eyes and tell them that their lives don't matter. He doesn't care about the issues that them and their families and their friends have to face day in and day out. And that's when we'll see, how it'll go over in the locker room. Because right now, we've seen a lot of his own teammates call him out and tell him that's not it, bro. So
that ain't it, homie.
So that ain't it, man. So it is what it is. I don't expect everybody to relate to what we go through, and I understand that. You have your privileges. Guys like Drew Brees have privileges and don't experience this day in and day out. So they're going to be ignorant to the topic. But the difference is some of them want to be educated and listen to us, while others want to keep their head in their sand, ignore it, and stay in their comfort bubble. My thing is, if you choose the latter, you don't want to learn about it and stay in your comfort bubble, just please shut the fuck up and let us achieve progress so that we can have the same privileges that you do.
Right on, bud. Well said. Well said. Mr. Avery. Take it easy on him, Kev. Take it easy on him.
Nah, I'm gonna keep this kind of short and sweet because Will done pretty much emptied the clip. But here's what I can say. Like you said, Tim. Me and you been the older cats. Me born in '79. Being 40 years old. Growing up in the rural area of South Carolina. I've seen some shit. I've been through some shit. So it's very easily for me to relate to a lot of what's going on. I just think that, when you have the platform that Drew Brees has, sometimes it is your opinion, but sometimes you got to think of the sensitivity of it and the people that you have to deal with. Because if I'm not mistaken, about 80% of your teammates are African Americans. And hey, that blocking might be a little bit different this year than it was from last. Hey,
you don't want them problems.
Sometimes you got to bite the nose to spite your face, they say. So I just wouldn't want to be him. But that was his right to choose. He felt like he said what he had to say. I just felt like that conversation was irrelevant to the task at hand. So when you're seeing police officers kneel, you're saying that you disagree with them. When you see that the fact that this whole thing has just enormed to a global, movement. Because what we got to make sure is that this remains a movement and not a moment. Where things going to be at 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now. Where's the same, like I always like to say, keep that same energy. So I just want to make sure that people who think like Drew Brees are able to finally get the point. and because, from my understanding, what you went to Purdue, career started in San Diego, you in New Orleans. You've been in New Orleans since 2006. And from what I read, you've been very much involved in the communities. So for me, it's just kind of hard that, being from the South, I know it's a lot of racial issues and a lot of tensions down there, particularly in the city of New Orleans. I don't know if you ever went to the Ninth Ward, but but a lot of your fans are, and so just hearing a lot of Facebook groups that I'm in, the Saints fans, are torn between this, and I just think that in this upcoming season, every player that sat Drew Brees should take a knee right beside him. That would be symbolic. Matter of fact, as soon as this podcast is over, I'm going to put that on my Twitter, and I'm gonna tag him in it. And I might just tag a few other star defensive. I might look at every pass rusher that's on his schedule, and let them know, hey, when you see Drew Brees take and sack him this season, take a knee. Mm-hmm. Let him get something like that. Would definitely get the point across. He's probably glad that he can't get tackled in practice. Because I'm pretty sure right now, Cam Jordan might, based on what I'm seeing on Twitter, Cam Jordan might just give him them 41-year-old bones a little bit more than what he been wanting. He done had that red jersey on all these years. So
oops, my bad.
Hey, we'll see how it goes. But
oops, my bad. Oops.
Had Jameson that coming in and eating W's again,
What the hell was that?
But yeah, overall though, I just think that his opinion was not well thought of, and even if he felt that way, that this was not the time and place for it. So, but he has the right to feel the way he feels. But when you're on that platform, when you speak your words, know that it comes with repercussions. And best believe that your teammates are probably looking at you differently now. And don't get me wrong, I hate the Saints like I hate anybody else in our division, but my hate for them is a little bit more. This just kind of, as a fan, just adds, as they like to say, pepper the gumbo a little bit more for me as a fan. So
pepper the gumbo.
Yeah. So I close it off by saying that fuck the Saints.
My man.
Real talk, fuck the Saints, the football team. But at the same time, as men, I gotta give props to Michael Thomas, to Alvin Kamara, Emmanuel Sanders, Cam Jordan, Marcus Colston, all these guys for calling out Drew Brees on his bullshit and telling him that's not it, bro. So as fuck the Saints all day, every day, the football team, but as individual players and men on that team, I got to give him respect for standing up to him and telling him what's real.
Right on, man. Well said. Man. So let me get this straight. So Drew said this from the comfort of his home, correct?
Yes, sir.
So he wasn't, under any stress or pressure or anything of that nature. He just sat down and had a conversation, right?
Yeah. What was in his heart came out, bro.
What was in his heart came out. Interesting. Now, folks, I'm just this is just me. All right, this podcast does not represent the Panther organization officially. This is just a 4-man rush, and this is just Timmy VO. If what comes out your mouth equates to you being comfortable when it comes out your mouth, by God, it's real. That came from the heart. That earned some type of blowback because it's not like this man was on stage, in front of the RNC or something. You know what I mean? This dude was being interviewed straight up from his crib, and he was comfortable in his slippers. So he felt pretty damn comfortable. And hey, like Will said, everybody is more than entitled to their opinion about a situation, especially something this volatile. But it says something when compassion does not enter your mind when thinking of something like this. It says something when you can't think about your fellow Americans being snuffed out on the pavement, on the concrete, in the road for not even a minor infraction. It says something when you can't feel for people like that. And now I am not excusing in no way, shape, or form any of the destruction that's been going on in these cities. But if you've been watching and following this on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you will see over and over and over again, and we'll testify to this, how the people of the actual communities are banding together and keeping people from destroying shit. It would really make me feel better if Drew Brees would probably have done more research on the situation before he got comfortable and just talking out the side of his fucking neck. Excuse my language. Folks, you got to understand the pain. You have to understand that anger that has been inside of folks' chests for years. You have to understand a lot of people walking out in these streets have lost somebody to some type of bullshit violence that never should have been there in the first place. And folks say media pumps it up, media pushes it, whatever. And, they report the quote unquote news. Sure. But they don't report everything. Especially when it comes to the black community. We don't have media hype like that. So what you're seeing is a snippet of what goes on in black communities across this country. That's the problem. And that's what bothers me about what Drew Brees said, knowing that he's been around black men pretty much all his freaking life playing the game of football. And you don't understand that? Shit. Son, you might come to work, but you ain't working with anybody. That's why he knows a playbook like that. Because he don't know his players. Real talk. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you very much for listening.
And Tim, let me just clarify, when Will hit it on the spot. From a football point, yes, always fuck the Saints, fuck the Falcons, fuck the Bucs, because it's divisional rivals, from a football aspect. But, definitely, big props to not only his own teammates, but for other contemporaries around the league. I saw with Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, stood up and called him out on it. Mm-hmm. So I just think that, like we were discussing, during the pregame before coming on, that the key to our quest to finally get some equality right here might be the fact that white people are getting more involved now than ever before with the movement. Because think about it, black people, we're only 14% of the country in population. So even if you had every single black person on board and doing it, we're still a very small group. And matter of fact, I think we are the smallest minority in the country, if I'm not mistaken, because I know the percentage, if I looked up for the Latino community was bigger than ours. I'm not sure about the Asians.
Nah.
But yeah, the key to this is our fellow, white friends and white Americans, just being involved and getting in. And what I've been seeing is just, my dad, God rest his soul, he would have loved to see, that type of unity, because he was on the front line when there was the water hoses and the dogs and all that back in the day. So to see that it's to manifest it to where it is now, I think he would have been, would have been very proud to see it. So I just think that this whole thing is, it was a much needed shakeup. Now, I don't agree, as stated, with all the, the violence and destruction, because I don't want people taking advantage of a bad situation for, quote, material possession gains. But in the words of MLK, rioting is the voice of the unheard. So we've been peaceful, we've been praying, we've been doing this for decades. We're still not getting heard. So
yep.
That's all I have to say on that.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like a lot of people defending Brees will bring up his efforts after Hurricane Katrina, building homes and all the charitable work he does in the New Orleans community in defense of him. And, I'm not going to lie, I appreciate when players and organizations do that kind of thing, but just keep in mind, Jerry Richardson was also charitable throughout the Carolinas and did a lot for black communities in those areas, but that stopped him from disrespecting women in his organization or using racial slurs to insult employees in his organization and make them feel like shit. No. So miss me with using money as, to hide behind being, insensitive to issues in minority communities. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And we have to give credit where it's due and criticize when it's due at the right times.
I'll say this because the fellas are really gone in on this one. They hit every nail on every head, I think. But I'll say this for our listeners right now. I would say if you're not sure what privilege is, I want to tell you, privilege is taking an imagination and then projecting that imagination onto reality with no wake up call. So what I think with this Drew Brees thing, he has taken a question that was about protesting something that's very real and very prevalent in today's society, and he now projects his own views and morals on that reality, in spite of the suffering of the people that he works with. Like 70% of the NFL is black. There's no way any of this is foreign to them. He can't go to work without seeing a black person. Not like if you look on the Saints roster right now, probably a vast majority of them are African Americans. So it's like you can't distance yourself from their struggle because I know you see it. Like you're literally in New Orleans. There's no way you can't see it and recognize what's going on, and then you still felt comfortable with saying all this. So it just goes to show, I don't think Drew Brees even was very much pressed of whatever was going on as far as protests and riots. I don't even know if he even much cares about it. But I think it's very telling how he responded, and of course he has every right to feel. Well, I wouldn't even say every right. He has the ability to feel how he feels. Yeah. But you can't even understand and take from a perspective that this isn't even about your cloth or your song. Right. I'm like, that was just baffling to me.
Yeah. I really wish I didn't know this about Drew, man. He completely. And again, right? This is his personal, right? His personal feelings versus his football prowess. The man's a hell of a quarterback. I mean, he'll go down as one of the baddest motherfuckers out there now. Don't trip. But man, from a personal standpoint, bro, you just really threw a lot of shade on yourself for me, bro. That was crazy. Go ahead, Will. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just think JD used a great word, is privilege. I mean, even when the example he used about his father being a part of the military and having the utmost respect for the flag. Well, guess what? Both my grandfathers were on that same military. But guess what happened when they came home? They had to deal with segregation. They couldn't use white restrooms. They couldn't use white water fountains. They couldn't eat at white restaurants. My granddad was a truck driver. And on his route, him and his co-worker were hungry and wanted to pull over to a restaurant and eat. Their response was, we'll let the white guy eat, but we won't feed your guy that's with you. So he wasn't able to get anything to eat on his truck route. So why can't black veterans have the same privileges as white veterans? And I think that continues to this day. Black veterans come home and have to deal with the same police brutality and oppression in their communities. Yeah. So it's not that we want Drew Brees to be the leader of this movement. I mean, that's not what we're asking him to do. All we're saying is shut the fuck up, step aside, and don't get in the way as we try to fight to get the same privileges that you have.
And in a time like this, folks, it's best to listen, right? And that's on everybody. Well, it's best to listen to each other. However, we have to also keep in mind why we're listening, and what we're listening for. Okay, when somebody goes through something as traumatic as losing a loved one, tragically, to somebody who is supposed to uphold the law and save lives for no reason, right? That pain, right? It resonates with a lot of different people because, again, right, this has happened to the community for years. So listening and understanding how people feel, right, will alleviate that quote unquote privilege point of view, because now, instead of being privileged, right, you're understanding, right? You're compassionate. You have this avenue of communication that can open up now, and both sides will realize that we have more in common than not, right? We have a common goal, and that's a peaceful country. That should be the common goal overall, right? Kevin and I are veterans. Okay, we've we've slung shit with a whole bunch of shades, folks, and it's evident. It's evident that we all have more in common as Americans dealing with this pain than we realize. It's just that we don't have an avenue of communication. Everybody wants to talk, but nobody. Well, I'm not gonna say nobody, but the right people don't want to listen, I should say. Because as Kevin pointed to, we are a small populace in this country, right? Which means our voting power is not that strong. But if we have enough allies, right, and we can understand one another from that aspect, even despite the political avenues, we can come together as a unit and get certain things done in this country to make it safer and better and more enjoyable, especially for the little ones, because they are watching us. Don't forget that. Cameras on everywhere, folks. These kids are tuned in, and they ain't got school neither. They are soaking this up every second. Let's not forget that, please. So, Drew Brees, good luck to you, fam. Good luck to you. Go ahead, Will.
I think, like we talk about platforms, Drew Brees should be irrelevant to this discussion. When you look at a TV, what we're doing here in Miami, what I'm seeing in Charlotte, New York, D.C., L.A., all 50 states across the world, Paris, France,
London,
in France, but Paris,
London,
all these countries across the world are protesting racial injustice in America. It's just a beautiful thing to see all these people come together. Yeah. So I think just keeping the focus on ignorant people that can't relate, like Drew Brees, who kind of live in their bubble and live off their privileges, versus people that are on the streets every day protesting and trying to make a difference and actually opening their ears and listening to the issues at hand and wanting to give all Americans liberty and justice for all. That just can't go ignored.
Right.
So, I don't want to allow guys like Brees' comments to overshadow what's really going on across America right now. It's a beautiful thing to see these young guys fight for their freedoms that they're granted by the Constitution. I do my best to be out there with them, but my 36-year-old legs, can't keep up with the 18, 19, and 20-year-olds as much as they used to. So I'll do my part, though, man. It's just great to see everybody come together like this.
Right on. Yeah, we appreciate you, Will, and everybody else out there who was, protesting in a peaceful manner and doing it the right way. I'm sorry, folks. I get we gotta shake some feathers, man. But there's also that element that ensures that everybody's safe. That's what Will's a part of, and I much respect to everybody out there who's standing up and speaking out, no doubt. Anyway, so. Any parting shots, gentlemen?
Shout out to Coach Rhule.
That's a leader right there, folks. That's a leader right there. All right. Kev, any parting shots, man? You good?
Again, never want to take it for granted. Just want to thank each and every single supporter of the 4-Man Rush on all of our social media accounts and platforms. We just want to make sure that you know that every time you listen to our voice that you are appreciated and that we do thank you for your continued support. The four-man rush is growing. Things are slowly falling into place a piece at a time for us. And we appreciate you riding on with us on this journey, inviting others to come with you on this journey with us. And just want to thank you for the support.
Right on, man. Well, folks, we've come a long way. We've almost got our 60th episode. We're on the cusp of 60. Yeah.
Oh.
And yeah. I
forgot. This is we talked about it. We just want to mention it real quick before we get off the air.
Yeah.
This is episode 59, right?
Yeah, 59. This is the Luke Kuechly.
Yeah. So on this Luke Kuechly episode, before we close out too quick, let's just drop the fact that it was made known today that that Luke Kuechly is a strong possibility of joining the Panthers as a scout with this upcoming season. So, if the other fellas y'all want to chime in on that, but hey, that's enough for me. Who knows what that will lead him to? So,
I love it.
Luke Kuechly is going to be back joining the Panthers, and the seems to be in the scouting department. So on this Luke Kuechly episode, we definitely definitely had to make mention of that as well.
Luke.
Shouts out to Luke, bro.
5'9".
Yeah, man. Imagine in 2025, 2026, new Panthers general manager Luke Kuechly. How that sound?
Man.
Yeah, I know we got a lot of comments about why a scout and not a defensive coordinator or linebackers coach. Reason is, as a pro scout or starting in the scouting department, that's the first step you take towards becoming a general manager. So you start as a pro scout or college scout, promotion to national scout or head of scouting department, then you elevate to director of pro personnel, and then that's when you're a candidate to be a general manager of a team. So Luke Kuechly seems to want to take that career path to become a general manager of a football team. So he'll follow in the footsteps of guys like, Ozzie Newsome, former player, great GM for many years for the Baltimore Ravens. John Lynch was just in the Super Bowl last year with the San Francisco 49ers. John Elway won a Super Bowl, unfortunately, with the Denver Broncos. So Luke Kuechly just wants to follow in the footsteps of I'm sure there's many more, but he just wants to follow in the footsteps of other former players that become GMs. And I think he has that talent, man. Luke won with his mind. He not only made plays for himself from his film study, but he put his teammates in position to make plays as well. I think with that kind of football knowledge and intelligence, you can't let that leave your organization. It's an asset. You just have to be able to utilize it in different ways. So this is a guy I want to keep in this organization as long as we can.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm excited for the guy, man. Knowing his preparations and the way he used to come at things, man. You give him a topic or something to concentrate on, but he's going all in. He's dissecting the heck out of some stuff, man. And he knows what to look for when it comes to players and things of that nature. Just wow, I'm excited for him, man. I'm really excited for him. Nobody deserves it better than Luke. He's such a stand-up dude, man. Oh man, I hate that he had to leave, man. But yeah, go ahead.
Can I give y'all some breaking news real quick?
Whoa, break it!
And this is from our very own Coronado Greg James.
Kenny G.
He's had K Jizzle. But yeah, currently they're showing right now live on TV that Saints fans are currently burning Drew Brees jerseys and are chanting "Fuck Brees." These are Saints fans right now in the city of New Orleans. They are really feeling some kind of way about that.
Same fans that dubbed him Drew Brees as Jesus.
Yeah. Hey, yo. Oh my God. Okay. Well, Drew.
Man, look, he in New Orleans, bro. I mean, you talking about jazz musicians that came out of there from back in the
Bruh.
day, all the way to
Yeah.
now. You had the Cash Money Millionaires, No
Oh
Limit,
man.
back in the '90s to nowadays with the culture that's coming out of there. Man, look,
Oh man.
you know, in that community to say that, come on now, man.
Bruh.
But surrounded.
It's just a classic example of privilege, having your head in the sand, living your bubble, and being ignorant to issues outside of your household.
And that's another thing I don't get. Do you ever think about your fans, bruh? Do you ever think about the Saints franchise? Do you ever think? I mean, and that never crossed your mind, Drew, bruh? How long you been playing there? You know what I'm saying? How many hands have you shook? How many high fives of fans, black fans, have you? Come on, bruh. I mean, have a little compassion. But that bubble is strong. I guess what happens when you're a multimillionaire? I don't know. But yay. Damage control. It's too bad we got Teddy. Bitch.
Wow.
The Saints fans regretting that now.
Oh,
They wish they
buddy.
had Teddy now.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Oh,
That's $25 million well invested, right?
boom.
Them streets hit differently when you walk down Bourbon Street now in the French Quarter. Go ahead, Brees, go on and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In the words of DJ, walk it out.
Walk it out. Walk it out.
Shit, go talk to his fans with Brees jerseys in the Magnolia Projects and see what they got to say.
Man, he better not even go to the war, bro. They don't even think about it. None of them. Nam nutter. And I have to say, I'm sorry. I'm a karma kind of guy. Then wasn't Sean Payton kind of set us up for some type of BS when he spilled the beans about us setting up some type of trade or something?
Yeah, trying to sign an undrafted free agent while the draft is still going on. Some quarterback, I can't even think of the kid's name that they ended up trading back into the 7th round to pick. How they felt like we was gonna, be signing him as soon as the draft was over. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Karma's a bitch, ain't she?
Now, I got to say, though, Peyton down for the cause, though, man.
Oh, for sure. Nah,
as a football coach, but he said some good things I like.
Nah, I was
props to shout out to them people from New Orleans. One of my favorite cities to visit. Fuck y'all football team, but I love y'all city. Y'all some good people, and I have a great time every time I'm out there.
Right on.
Still fuck y'all football team. I don't like them.
What up, Tulane? What's going on? What's good, Tulane?
I'm a fan of the food, drinks, and the women in New Orleans, so shout out to all of them as well.
Shoot, that's New Orleans right there, homie. Yeah. Now, I've yet to get a beignet, man. I'm trying to get down and get one of them beignets, man. I got to get one of those, man. Lord of mercy.
But fuck y'all football team.
You heard it here first and last. All right.
But haven't asked. Mercedes-Benz done said they're not renewing their sponsorship with you guys, so might as well call it Skol South. You know what I'm saying? Skol South Stadium.
Skol. Yeah, we got jokes tonight, girl. We got jokes tonight, y'all. Oh man, ain't nothing like the 4-man rush, I tell you. All right, folks. We're done complaining. We're done keeping it real for now. But hey, we hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Even though again it's dire circumstances right now, man. But above all, stay safe. Keep your eyes and ears open. Make sure you stay informed of what's going on in this country. This is some uncertain times. We still got COVID out there. I know locally in the Winston-Salem area, we've had a small spike and one of our nursing homes that has been COVID free during this whole time has now contracted their first case. So, folks, please be careful out there. Me personally, I'm just being logical about this. There's going to be an unexpected spike in COVID cases just because of the close quarters and association in these cities across the state and across the globe. People are being precautious, but there's going to be another spike. So just be prepared for that. Okay. Oh man, enough of the bad news already. Jesus freaking Christ. Okay. I know one thing. Ain't nobody gonna want to see us on that field when that defense steps out there. I know that shit. Y'all ain't gonna want to see that. We're gonna like the damn fool on that field on that defense. And CMC's gonna get a double K again. Watch. You heard it first. Don't give us 16 games. You're gonna get toe up. Don't give us 16. Don't do it. All right, folks. Whether you listen to this podcast in the morning, afternoon, or evening, we really glad that you checking this out. Please stay safe. Keep your hands away from your face. Wash your hands. Water your garden. Feed your dog. Pet your cat. And as always, keep pounding. And that's a goddamn clear.
Let's go.
Sir.
Shit. How they gonna like that one?
We'll find out.
The All Lives Matter crew ain't gonna like that.
Nah, they ain't gonna like it too.
They better be glad Larry and Monty went on this bitch.
Oh man,
right.
Boy.
Bro, I'm PG compared to them.
Boy.
I'm PG. I'll give myself PG-13.
Yeah.
They rated R.
Well, yeah. Boy, you talking about motivation.
All the cuss we did tonight, I'm surprised JD's house ain't on fire, bro.
Bro, it got hot. I had to go downstairs.
Oh, damn. You said it got hot.
Yeah, I was bringing the heat.
The block is hot.
Shit.
Tim was in his bag, though. He
Hey.
said, I got something to get off my chest.
Hey. Man,
First of all,
let me tell you something.
She love it, we out in public and we can just chill with my partners and we can go back to my crib and just chill out the covers and do we call me and you lovers.
The 4-Man Rush is brought to you by the love and respect of and for the Carolina Panthers and Carolina Panther fans everywhere. Keep pounding. The 4-Man Rush is a non-affiliate of the Carolina Panther organization. All thoughts, assessments, and content of this podcast is directly related to the 4-Man Rush exclusively. Thank you.